I'm trying to be as sustainable. Okay, I'm trying to be sustainable. And there are good days and there are bad days, right? As human beings, I don't think you can be sustainable. It's such a weird word now because it's touted with everything, you know. We don't even like to use the word sustainability anymore. I'd rather say today, responsibility. Because we can start making incremental changes. We can take responsibility to make incremental changes to be a better, caring person for the environment. So for me, my sustainable life is I'm vegetarian. I don't shop. If I do shop, I buy what's made by hand, made by artisans in different cultures. And when I buy, I want to know the provenance of the things that I buy. Where did it come from? Who made it? How is it made? You know, you give this whole beautiful story behind this jacket. How the hell can I throw it away when I've seen the faces of the artisans, the weaving, the techniques? You know, it's storytelling that makes me keep that jacket. We have no idea how a bag is made. We have no idea how a garment is made, how many hands touch those garments, how many invisible faces work behind these products that we love very much, and that we pay pittance for a t-shirt from a fast fashion company, and we never ever acknowledge that when we pay very cheap prices, someone's bearing the cost. And that would be someone sitting in a factory in India, in Indonesia, in Cambodia, in Bangladesh. And so that connectivity was never there. We were never told, because I will confess, because I'm a journalist. I work in the media. We as journalists didn't even have this conversation. So what would the consumers know? What would the readers know if we as writers did not highlight what's the back end story of fashion? Of course, today we have gone way more forward than what it was before. And with COVID, I think everyone's staying at home, consuming less, suddenly realizing that we really are polluting our environment, that we should really be concerned about. Look at the next generation of young people, the ones who are going to grow up in a world that has already been maligned by our greed. And so my journey from high fashion in Vogue changed to being a sustainability activist, which happened to me very organically when I moved to live in the jungles of Bali. And just being connected to nature made me realize very fiercely and genuinely that we have to understand how interconnected our worlds are, you know, between species. That someone who is farming cotton has something to do directly with my purchasing choice. That the shirt that I wear, the cloth on my head, whatever it is, has a long trajectory. And we cannot be quiet about it. And we cannot pretend that we don't care about how things are made. So today's sustainability really means a change in a lifestyle, personal choices that you can make on a day-to-day basis. But it's also moving away from ignorance to fortifying yourself with enough knowledge that will turn into wisdom. I'm still learning, you know, there are people who've been in this field, experts for 30, 40 years. I learn from them, I read about them. And for me, the most important part about sustainability is how sustainable are you? So it starts from the mind. Are you equipping yourself with enough knowledge? Then your heart. Do you show compassion, mindfulness, empathy in everything that you do in your life, especially as a consumer? And then the last is basically your legs. Walk the talk. I think it's one thing to assimilate all that information, but then you need to walk the talk. You know, for just one t-shirt to be made, the cotton comes from one country. Then it's beaten into yarn in another country. Then it goes to another country where it is turned into cloth and cut into fabric. Then it'll go to another country where it's turned into a t-shirt and someone's going to screen print, I love Goa, for instance, and you're going to buy it for $2, $3, and then you wear it twice and you shove it in your cupboard, or worse, you're going to put it in a bin and it goes into a landmine. Now, just that one act, let me tell you what it does, the amount of wastage that happens, the amount of throwing that happens, the equivalent of one truck of clothes is dumped in landfills every second. Every second. That's enough to fill 1.5 Empire State Buildings in a day. Now, that level of waste, excess, is shameful. How can we tolerate that? So in your daily practices, obviously you're doing all the little things that matter, which is very, very commendable, right? Do you feel daunted that if you were to have any kind of business practice that's based out of a passion in art and design, do you find it daunting that you have to think about sustainability and what should I do, the processes that have to be implemented to make a brand that is mindful, responsible? Do you feel daunted by it? Do you feel scared about that?
Honestly, I feel like over the past few years, it's become like a routine. It's how I live my life now. So I guess I'm just used to it. I guess I'm not really scared. It's the way I live. Yeah.
Okay, and so that's going to follow through in whatever work that you do.
Yes.
Or the Gandhian principles that I talk about wherever I travel in the world, which focuses on how can we imbibe these beautiful principles, these humane principles in our daily lives, to then understand that what I do, and then therefore what everyone else does, the unit and the collective, makes a difference. So we always think, someone will come along and solve the problem for me, The government has to do this, the NGO will do this, someone will create a fabric that is going to be less harmful to the environment. But those are different stages of responsibility, and they have a responsibility. But what is yours? Because what did Gandhi say? Be the change you want to see in the world. So take ownership. So I believe very powerfully that individual ownership is going to lead to social impact and change. So whether you're buying a t-shirt, by the way, one t-shirt that you're wearing takes up water that is your drinking capacity for 2.5 years. Now that is ridiculous. Think about water resources. So today in sustainability, we don't just talk about, or just buy less, or now it's like, it's a complex subject, I understand, but you have to look at the bigger picture. So we talk about fashion and biodiversity, because look at the resources fashion takes. It has to use water, it has to use electricity, there is waste. Where is that waste going? The carbon footprint of the distribution. There's some 40 million tankers, not tankers, what are they called? The ships that are carting all the goods that we're buying online. And look at the fallacy. We say, I'm sustainable. I'm just going to click the button. I'm not driving to a mall. I'm not overspending. I'm just clicking a button. I'm buying online and a big box arrives in your house, whatever, a week later, and you think you're doing a good job. But there's a huge carbon footprint to that too. So what I propagate personally is a fashion detox. Doesn't mean you don't buy, because we need to buy. We have a huge industry that employs millions of people who need the job, who enjoy their job. It feeds our creativity. There are geniuses working out there. But you need to take a diet. You do it for your body, you go on all kinds of diets. Why can't you go on a fashion diet? Buy less. Buy things that have meaning, that have value, that you're not going to throw away in a hurry. So therefore, cultural sustainability becomes very important, because where are you buying from? Do you really need to cart a t-shirt from across 3 continents so you can buy it cheap? Or can you look in your own backyard and participate in the cultural provenance of your region? Are you wearing Indian fabrics in whichever part of India that you live in? Or are you still wearing the stuff that you and I can buy in any city in the world? We almost have a uniform, right? hoodies, tees, jeans? What about wearing a ikka jacket? What about supporting local crafts made by hand? Does it have to be so uniform? So the moment we make everything so uniform, we all buy the same thing everywhere, then, this is the horrible part about globalization. We've just become non-entities in this diverse world. Like, we all become unified in a brutal way. Where is our ingenuity? Where is a difference that should be celebrated? The only thing that should be in common is our humanity. But I cannot go to Mexico and have the heart or the gumption to buy a t-shirt from a fast fashion company that's making in Bangladesh. If I go to Mexico, I want a Mexican textile that has a story, that has a history. So sustainability, that it's a mindset. You start questioning everything. I'm not going to eat fruits that are not seasonal. Now, that's a commitment I can make personally. I will not ingest something that does not grow seasonally, right? So personal responsibility for me is something that we can all appeal to in the depths of our own hearts. And let the others do what their jobs, policies that have to change, corporates that need to be reprimanded when they flout the rules. But what can you do personally? That how we've been living and consuming is not sustainable. And the power is in your decision, in your wallet. It is you who pulls out the wallet, no one else. It is your decision. So let's take that power back and use it for a good purpose, to look after our environment. People who are growing cotton, to the person who's dyeing that cotton, all the way to getting your buttons from China, getting the fabric from Bangladesh, getting them assembled in India, and then buying it in Italy. I mean, it is complex, right? Not to talk about the packaging, the kind of distribution that has to do with inventory, the excess that is made, and then, when they make too much, what do? They burn it because they don't want to sell in discount. So the responsibility is not just one tier of the industry. Yes, does media have a big role to play? Marketing? Absolutely. We've been told that it's okay to consume a lot. We take it for granted. The more we have, the happier we are. It's almost ironic because now we talk about if you're unhappy, you go shopping. You go on a shopping binge just to take that little painful fog out of your head. So we've been trained to believe that happiness lies in accumulating more and more. And that comes a lot from what we read, the kind of social media that we consume, with these brilliant influencers who are constantly telling you, constantly changing their clothes on every gram and saying you need to look new all the time. So repeating your clothes, something is so simple. Repeating your clothes. We've all grown up in families where mothers, grandmothers have repeated their saris, their kurtas. When have you ever seen your family member throw a sari in a bin? I mean, I get goosebumps even thinking about it. We would find that sacrilegious, right? So how did we become this person who says it's okay to constantly throw away clothes, but continue to buy more and more? There's a book that I recommend everyone should read, and it's called Stuffocation. We are suffocated by the stuff that we buy. And it's such a wonderful word, right? Stuffocation. We are suffocated. We're carrying a massive weight of too many things. And it's almost like, when you want to clean your mind, you clean your closet now. You have to clean something because, you start visualizing how it would feel to have a light mind, a light heart by cleaning up and throwing away the clothes that you bought over and over again. This system that tells us constantly that we own your individuality, we own your style, we will tell you what you must own to belong. That was propagated by media, and I worked in that industry, and I can tell you today, I feel a little ashamed. And therefore, I am very vociferous about saying media has a big role to play. We need to flip this narrative around and talk about not consumerism. We want to talk about participation. We want to talk about co-creation. We want to talk about cross-pollination. We want to talk about respect, dignity, compassion. Because we want to have good things, and we should, because we love creative stuff, we love aesthetics. But come on, it's about time we bring back that respect to creativity, to the creators. A lot of the creators are invisible. So media needs to address that. As I keep talking about the interconnectedness, the non-duality, because it's the most beautiful, inspiring, uplifting way of talking about sustainability. Or when I say sustainability, I'm talking about how art can play that role to elevate us, to inspire us, because of the visual narrative. But it is their choice to use that topic. Now, these are genius artists all over the world, and there are loads who are doing it. Some of the most iconic pieces, for instance, let's talk about the Guernica by Picasso, was a dismal, heartbreaking display of warfare. But it made people sit back and think about how treacherous war and battles it can be. And now today it's still part of the discourse, right? So we need artists now to use their medium to engage in anything that has to do with how to look after our world, the beauty of the world in a joyful way. And, I'm not an artist, so I can't say, but I think the content of the visualization can definitely inspire people, elevate people to think differently. Because we all look at most phenomenal art and, we sigh, we get goosebumps, we want to be better human beings. I mean, art elevates me personally. And I think artists have a huge role to play in this field. Where one person has only one job to do, put that one screw, and then it goes to the other person. The other one puts the other screw. But look at the ramifications. McDonald's is based on assembly line, right? Someone slaps the meat, someone slaps the bun, and that's assembly line production at its height and economies of scale. So where is the quality? Where is the humanity in the food that we've been told it should nourish us, should nurture us? That happens in fashion, in fast fashion factories, that men and women will sit for hours and hours every day doing the same chore again and again, like a machine. So that dehumanization is something that needs to be addressed. I don't care how beautiful, like the factory floor can look with women dressed immaculately and gloves and the stitching and whatever. I always wonder if it was me sitting there 8 hours a day doing the same damn thing over and over again, how dehumanized would I be? So we need to bring a little bit of empathy into what we wear. Like how? Why? We should be questioning every damn thing. I think about, how do you sit in a factory and make all these things? And so many of these things that we pay so little for. Where is that dignity? The younger generation especially, and research shows that they want to see the accountability and transparency amongst these brands. So if they get 2 t-shirts that look the same, and one is made with humanity and with the principles of sustainability, and the other one is not, trust me, you will not pick that one up. So your business plan better change now. Please sow the seeds of sustainability now. The idea of sustainability has been so maligned in the past because it's such a broad topic. So let's just stick to the products that are sustainable. Shoes, bags, clothes. Can they be cool? Hell yes, they can be really cool. We've seen it. Younger designers are making it look super cool. You can feel the fabric. It has the quality, the luxury. Like vegan leather. It's supple, it's soft, and it's environmentally friendly. Now they're making it from algae. They're making clothes from mushrooms, and you're going to get all these options very soon. But to think that you can continue to do business with fossil fuel based textiles, or ruining the fauna and the foliage of the countryside, then you're wrong, because that is not sustainable. And what's the point doing business if it's a dead planet? Who does business on a dead planet, right? But the most important, in my opinion, is what's the purpose? Who do you stand up for? Which community do you give back to? Are you just pillaging and profiting without giving back? If you don't have any purpose to what you're creating, then for me, how is that sustainable? How can you can be vegetarian for all I care, but if you're just profiting and not plowing back with generosity to your community, believing in a bigger purpose, I think then it's pointless. Just creating, just making products. So products, people, processes, and purpose. And I find purpose is something that will drive you passionately to do good, because it's about empathy.
A scientific way that we could improve our planet, or just help people go greener individually. So me and the other girl who were doing it, we realized that we were all vegetarian for ethical reasons, and we were looking at vegetarianism. And we realized that a lot of people go vegetarian for health reasons or ethical reasons. But we realized that there's actually a huge sustainability aspect to it as well. Just because producing one meat-based meal over one plant-based meal, the amount of water, the amount of land, the amount of resources it takes, it's just so much more. So we discovered that, well, going vegan or going vegetarian is obviously the biggest way to make a difference, but we realized that that was probably too extreme or too big of a change for a lot of people in the audience. So we researched the statistics, and we found that just replacing one meat-based meal a week in your diet with a plant-based alternative can significantly reduce your carbon footprint and lead to a more sustainable lifestyle. And I was really interested to hear that you were also talking about, being a vegetarian as part of the things you do to be more sustainable. And that was really nice to hear.
I'm glad. I love it. See, this is the generation that is going to change the world. My generation can get jaded, and we believe in a lot of shortcuts, right? But we've lived the prime of our lives, and you're just starting out. So yeah, I really appreciate that you see that the whole association of what that small choice. This is not shaming non-vegetarians, but I'm just saying, if statistics show it, and at least be informed, right? Today, go on Netflix and you'll see Cowspiracy. Or have you watched it? Or Seaspiracy. Oh my God, please watch it. Cowspiracy and Seaspiracy. Apart from many other documentaries and different platforms that talk about our footprint on Earth because of our consumption habits. What we forget, again, is that these choices have adverse effects on not just the fact that you've killed a pig or a cow or a chicken. Cows have to be raised now in lands that would be growing papayas and bananas, and village communities and children running around. Now they are all raised because they're growing fodder for the cows, to raise the cows, give them antibiotics, make them fatter, grow more corn, and they become monocrops, right? And then those monocrops take up so much water, like the cotton farming in India is depleting us of water, has already depleted us of water in regions. Avocados in Mexico, because everyone wants to have avo because it's a health food. Now there are avocado wars. It's called the green gold. And what do they do? Like palm trees. You wipe out what existed, coexisted naturally. That the bamboo tree grew alongside a papaya tree. Next to the papaya tree was the banana tree. There was an entire ecosystem of biodiversity that got ruined because of monocrops, that we have to grow only certain things because you have to feed the cows and make them fat. But what you forget is all that is happening there while you get one piece of steak on your plate. All I'm saying is be aware. We cannot afford not to be aware. By all means, make the choices that you want to make. But to dismiss the trajectory, the journey of that steak onto your plate is closing your eyes, shutting your eyes to reality. So yes, choices do matter.
That you just see like the finished t-shirt in front of you and like you really don't know what's going on behind it. And I was wondering, like, why do you think there's like such like secrecy and like such a lack of awareness, I guess, about like these processes? And like, how did you kind of like break that veil and, you know, realize that all this is happening behind the scenes? And do you think that it's like something that people are becoming more aware of now, or do you think it's still like the same old like veil of secrecy?
Well, you know, there have been tragic incidents in the world of fashion that really put a spotlight on how awful and dysfunctional the fashion industry had become. Okay, one of them very sadly happened in Bangladesh about 10 years back, maybe. It's called the Rana factory collapse, where a big factory that made clothes for some of the top American fast fashion brands, the factory collapsed because, you know, the working conditions are so pathetic that no one gave a damn, that there was a whole roof, a whole building that was falling apart. There's no exit, no fire extinguishers. People, these are slave owners. Why is it so difficult to understand the way they were working? They were slaves to a very rich industry. Today, the owner of Zara is the 8th richest man in the world. And where are all these clothes being made? In countries where we still have a problem with fair wages, working conditions, health issues, safety. And in Rana factory, when it collapsed, and you know, it's so tragic because in our industry, most of the workers are women in the fashion industry, right? So when the factory collapsed, there was a lot of mothers who lost their lives. I think there were close to 2,000 people who lost their lives. And that became a very stark example of how dysfunctional the system had become. And after that happened, a brilliant filmmaker who wasn't even in the fashion industry looked at it and said, my God, someone's got to talk about it. And that's when he made this phenomenal documentary called The True Cost. Please watch it, everyone. It's called The True Cost. What is the true cost of making fashion? And when you see this documentary that traces everything from leather tanneries in India to, you know, toxic dyeing, cotton farming, children who are being used like slaves in this industry, women who are, all of it, you see an entire system that is interconnected. And because of the interconnectivity, what I buy affects someone sitting in another country, in another continent. The other part of you doing what you do is, which is everything that, you know, let me just read out a few, okay? Carry reusable water bottles, saying no to plastic, period, right? Using secondhand clothes, hand-down clothing, reuse, recycled paper, all of it. Those are ordinary things that we can do to make extraordinary changes. But you need to propagate it. It is not something that you just do for yourself. You become a shining example that others should follow. So there is that activism that you need. Like, you need an activist mind to be able to make change. We are all activists as human beings. It's our birthright that we stand for something, and that we should announce what we stand for and change the ways and convince people if we feel they're wasteful, right? And you are going to have a fashion business, art and fashion business at some point, I'm sure. So it would be wonderful if you can put the ideals of sustainability, the functionality into your practice from day one. Don't sit on the drawing table when you're planning, whatever you're planning, without keeping in the back of your mind the importance of having a brand or a company that really, truly believes in not harming the environment or having a very small carbon footprint. Like all this has to be completely accounted for at every stage. So if you're thinking about packaging, then it'll be immediately clear to you. If you're already saying no to plastic, then why would you use plastic in your packaging, right? Then that becomes your second nature to say no to these harmful things and find new solutions, innovative practices. So I think just imbibing, internalizing all that you're doing already, into the business, because the business is going to be driven by passion. It is you. It's one individual that is doing all this. We were told that there's a professional part of me and there's a personal part of me. How many times were we told that, oh, leave your work at the office, don't bring your work home? But that world has changed, right? I bring my work home because I work passionately in this field. It is in my home, it is in my life, it is with my friends, and it is in my work. So if you're doing all these wonderful things of keeping, whether it's in art, using natural colors, as I'm just reading, which is brilliant, recycled canvases, if you're doing that because you love art, you don't think you treat it as a job, it's a passion. And so sustainability should very much be part of that passionate journey. Episode of Art of Sustainability series. And I want to really thank the Kiran Nadar Museum of Art for always giving me this opportunity. I'm so far away, I'm in Bali. Thank you for making me feel welcome and connected to your world, to the world of art. And I want to especially thank Jiya and Govind for being part of this conversation. And I look forward to more. Thank you very much.